Hello, welcome. Very nice to be here. As always, very nice to be here. So we're going to begin to have some conversations going into the rest of this year. There are some very large changes. So actually, I should say there are quite a few of you who are new to this, so welcome. Very nice to have you here. And those of you who are here often, nice to have you here also. So there are some changes that are unfolding, and I say that over the last year's changes, and the changes that I have been pointing to have come and have unfolded, and some of them have passed, and now they're very much engaged in your reality. Some of those changes have affected you. Most all of them have affected you, but they may or may not be that noticeable because most people kind of just watch time and life go by. And if I said to you, tell me about the challenges, the movements, the experiences, the things that were going on last year at this time. Can you tell me what was the changes that we were all facing at that particular time? And generally the answer is, no, I don't remember. And in a way, that's exactly the right answer. No, I don't remember, because it was in the past. It was a present time moment that you were experiencing yourself. And just like right now is a present time moment that you're experiencing yourself. You're not experiencing yourself last year, and to a great extent, you don't even care what happened last year, unless some major event happened on a certain day and it got your attention, and your emotions and your energy all got revved up, and it's happened. But minus somebody's death or something really significant happening to you, most people are very pressed when asked what happened last year. And can you even remember last February? And most people are going to say no. So this aspect of what we experience, how we experience it, how we think about it, how we process it, how we engage emotions and feelings with it, happens in the moment. It doesn't happen an hour ago or an hour from now, a minute ago, a minute from now. It's happening right now. And that aspect of right now is about to change. That's not quite correct. Right now is going to be right now. But how you have perceived right now, how you've thought about right now, how you experience yourself moving from right now to right now to right now, time moving, that's about to change. And how it's going to begin to affect you is on a feelings and an emotion level going into the next number of years. You're going to find that you are going to be able to be sad and happy at the same time. You're going to find that there is a change in time. And we'll talk about time all through the coming months, but not so much today. But time is changing. The structure of how you perceive time is not so much where you're about to play a linear expression of past, present, future. Time is moving you very much into more of a present time moment, to where you really can't even say to a great extent what happened yesterday. In fact, just think about it. What did you do yesterday? Can you really identify? You had, let's just take the daytime. You had, 7 o'clock in the morning through 7 o'clock at night, let's just say. How much of that can you repeat? How much of that can you identify what you did in that 12-hour period of time? And so if I said, okay, I'll listen, inevitably you say, well, I kind of had breakfast, I did this, I did that, and then it drops off. Don't remember. So what I'm saying here is a lot of aspects of time you're passing through. Well, but what we'll come to talk about much more this year is time passes through you. You don't pass through time. And we're going to talk often about time and space are one thing, not two things. And how time and space is configured, there is something called gravity. And gravity is very much a big deal, but not quite the way that you think about it. Most people would hear gravity as like, oh yeah, my feet are on the ground. Yeah, that's a piece of it. But the aspect of gravity is very magnetic, and the aspect of gravity plays very much into how you hold emotions and feelings. You ever notice that some of your emotions are really charged, very electrical. Some of them are really sticky. I feel really stuck. I can't get out of this space. Kind of adhesive. Some of them are really, I'm locked into this place. You don't understand. I'd like to change my life, but very magnetic. Gravity. So we'll talk about that in the coming months because that's going to be huge in how you begin to perceive your reality. There is a shift of consciousness. Some people still don't believe that happened in 2012. It did. It was significant, and it's now beginning to unfold. That shift of consciousness is going to begin to present multiple presentations of time and space. And in that aspect of it, you're going to find, I'm just talking here for a moment, you're going to find that you are going to experience multiple emotions and multiple thoughts simultaneously. They might not even necessarily be related to one another, and but they're going to start to play out. And if a person is not grounded, not present, not really clear about themselves, do not know how to manage the energy of the experience they're standing in, there's going to be some challenges to that individual. Now, when does that? It doesn't happen all at once, but it's going to unfold over the coming numbers of years. But it's starting to unfold right now. And it's very easy to be concerned about the external world in terms of, oh, this is happening and that's happening and this is disruptive and I'm really uncomfortable with. And things that used to be status quo, I could depend on, they were really right there for me all the time. Some of your status quo is beginning to be rocked a little bit. It's going to be rocked considerably more going into the near and somewhat couple years out future. So what do I do? Numbers of people would say. And from the point of mastering alchemy, the point of the place that we get to play, the reason you're kind of on this call is really to begin to address the question, how do I manage myself? How do I observe a transformation in the external world? And how do I deal with the transformation in my internal world? Both those answers are very much the same. It's a matter of how do you think? How do you hold emotions? How do you perceive? We'll talk about this in a moment. What layer of thought do you think in? Are you able to distinguish between what an emotion is and what a feeling is? Are you able to, when there is disruption around you, be able to take a breath and stay in the center of your head? And then choose an action rather than, oh my God, what do I do? And get hit by the train. So there's a lot that is unfolding. And all through the balance of this year, we're going to talk about that unfolding from the standpoint of not it's a problem, from the standpoint of here is pieces of information to navigate your reality in a way that will allow you to make choices that will be very beneficial to you, whatever those choices are. But the process of observing and making a choice from a clear set of thoughts coupled with the feelings or the emotions that allow you to have a sense of appropriateness for you. And I'm going to choose that word appropriateness very specifically because when you play in right and wrong and good and bad and should and shouldn't, you're in the third dimensional reactionary state. The third dimensional reactionary state is very much what is being disrupted. And so when you hold thoughts and opinions and beliefs, and they're reinforced by your habits that say, well, this is the truth. It's always been the truth. This is how I am. Maybe that's not in your best interest. So where do your thoughts come from that create your beliefs that support and are reinforced by your observations based on how you think it should be? And then it's obviously a truth because I've seen it happen twice, so therefore it must be. And I just accept it as a truth without really examining it, and I drop it into a habit. Habit being somebody says X and you say, oh, well, that's true. Oh, no, that's not true. Do you examine the circumstance? Do you consider what is being presented? Or do you, from a reactionary standpoint, argue for the position that you've held since you were in third grade? And you don't even remember who told you that in third grade. So, how do we think what we think? Where does the thoughts that we think that then make up our personality, our belief systems, our truths, where do they come from? Now, in a way, it's kind of a challenging request because if you can't remember yesterday, how are you going to remember where those thoughts came from? Well, they just are, and therefore, and I know it, and that's how it is. So take a breath, if you would. We're kind of going to structure this and then play in it. So how do you learn to think and believe what you think and believe? It really starts right very much as a little kid. And as a little kid, I love my mom and my dad and my grandma and my grandpa, and they're great. And this is what they told me. Now, as a little kid, you don't have discernment in your reality, but I love my mom and dad, or I don't love my mom and dad. Doesn't matter which side of that coin you play on, but basically, I make a decision because I like or dislike what I'm being told. And it's not filtered, it's to a great extent accepted. Just goes in. And depending on the mom and dad and the belief systems and the thoughts, a child begins to just accept that. Now, there is a point in that development where there is an internal expression that begins to be remembered. And it's actually engaged with as a little child for quite a while, but it's not filtered, it's not discerned. So that little kid who walks around with its blanket, its clown, its doll, its, toy dog. And what do you think that is? That's that alignment with the higher self. That's that voice that continuously is there. But the thing about that voice is it's so familiar because it's where you come from. And so it doesn't say to you, though, right, wrong, good, bad, should, shouldn't. It basically allows you to begin to create your experience. You came here to have experience, and you structured coming here to have this experience to have this experience that you're having. It's I'm not going to say pre-created to some absolute, but to a great extent, you choose that mom and dad, and you choose your environment, and you choose your color of your skin. You choose all those things to have that experience. So the higher self being dragged around as a blanket doesn't really interfere with. But as you get a little older, there is an aspect to where you, one, begin to give up the higher self, the blanket, because mom and dad are telling me what to do. I just accept it. But at the same time, there is a place where you have these insights into that doesn't feel right, or this does feel right. I'm on track or I'm off track. This is feels appropriate or feels inappropriate. Keep that out of right and wrong, good and bad, just appropriate for me, my internal alignment of truth for me. As that process unfolds, there is a little bit of pushback in the space where sometimes you begin to discern at a level to where I don't like this. That's not the 2-year-old. That 2-year-old is really jockeying from position, and it's moving in the direction of its own alignment. But at the same time, all the conditionality of the mom, dad at that point are structured. And so in a way, I said it doesn't account. It does count. It begins to be part of the pushback. It also is part of the figuring it out. I want to do it myself. And what you start to realize is the energy of this is how we do it in this family. This is true and this isn't. We talk to these people. We don't talk to those people. This is the food we eat, et cetera, et cetera. And some of that, it's all of a sudden begins to be, wait, I'm not in agreement. 2-year-olds. And then after a while, the blanket begins to be dropped away. The doll stops being important. You've had enough time where you sat and played tea with the invisible ones at the table, and somebody said, there is nobody there. Stop doing that. And you saw the big person, and you saw the angels, and you went, okay. And you started shutting down your internal spiritual guidance systems, your clairvoyance, your clairsentience, your telepathies, your trance mediumship, your clairaudience, and the other 15 or 16 of those skill sets. Basically start to shut them down. And then you go on through life and you begin to have teachers, and the teachers, some of them are interesting, some of them are not. And at some point you begin to have teachers that you like. And they say, here's my truth. This is how the world works. This is what history is. This is the box that we call life. Take a breath. Anybody know those places? And so because I like that teacher, because I love my mom, because my grandpa is really cool, he used to be in the Navy and he'd go fight people and etc. My belief system begins to be formed. And my thought structure, my opinions, my truths begin to be formed. It's kind of how we do what we do. And a lot of times we think thoughts because one of the other configurations that come into play is the rational mind. And the rational mind's job is to keep us safe and have us fit in. Keep us safe and have us fit in. And see, at this point, that little kid begins to start to really understand, I want them out there to like me. And so I begin to craft my world around them liking me fitting in, doing the right thing, wearing the right clothes, being cool the right way. It's in that space that our thoughts begin to be crafted. And as you get older and you start to play in places where you are kind of asked to think or make sense of or understand the philosophy of or how things work, you begin to create a thought structure around the foundation of the beliefs that you have from those who've told you. Now, that's neither good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's how it generally works. And the reason it works that way is this is what I came here to have an experience, experiencing myself in this space. Now, if you did that in the 1800s, in the early 1900s, even in the 1950s and 60s and 70s, there wasn't a lot of challenge on how you came up with thinking. You were navigating to fit in and to have a life the way you were told life should work. But then there was a disruptive force that came into play in about 1987, the harmonic convergence. And the harmonic convergence is disruptive. And basically what the harmonic convergence did was said, it is time to recognize yourself. You have come here to do something. It's time to remember. And many got on board with that. Many have woken up since that. But it's a little bit challenging because I think what I think and I want to fit in and I want to be accepted and I need to have money in order to play the game. And consequently, I have some real challenges in disrupting my thinking process because it interferes with my life patterns. But numbers of things happened along the way. 1992, 1994, 2000, 2001, 2003, really a big thing in 2007, 2011, 2012. For those who have never really comfortably fit in, through that whole period of time, many of us have had challenges. We've been embracing things that we feel aligned with, but doesn't quite fit in outside. So here we are at this point, and one of the places where I watch a lot of people have challenges is they don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I know what I want to do, and I don't know what to do. Now, let me fast forward, and then we'll come back and play in a way of changing some of this. Going forward in this shift of consciousness, if I said to you, here's all the money in the world, and here's really the things that you think would make you happy, house on the beach, overlooking the dolphins, playing in the water. Here it is, it's yours. Would you be happy? And most people say, oh yeah, I'd be really happy. But there's something that is going on that is unfolding. So I'm now going out really not too far into the future because there's a massive disruption in your life that's in the process of making happening. And this massive disruption is called machine intelligence or artificial intelligence. Really fascinating, fabulous from one standpoint, very scary from another standpoint. So this process, though, is such, I just heard a man talking, brilliant man, Jack Ma is the man's name. Jack Ma is the founder of Alibaba. Alibaba is the same as Amazon in China and bigger. A brilliant man. And what he basically said is humans cannot compete with machine learning. The human cannot compete. And the purpose going forward of machine learning, this is a very kind man, is for work to be done by machines. Humans are to live life and enjoy themselves. And the thing that has to be done is we have to educate the children in arts, in music, in mathematics, in teamwork, in co-creation, in cooperation, and have them understand dignity and respect. Gee, it kind of sounds like what we've been talking about, the fifth dimension. He said the human cannot compete with the machine in terms of work, in terms of figuring things out. Now, just leave it right there for a second. Think about that. What a gift. Now, if all these other pieces, which we will talk about over time, actually come about in such a way that you don't have to really work, you don't have to worry about money, you don't have to worry about how you live, you don't have to worry about those things. What if all that was satisfied? The next question is the hard one. Can you give to yourself and enjoy yourself and have for yourself and like yourself? Now, for those who've been playing with me for some time, you know that's kind of the point of all the meditations at this level is, can you be in that heart space and like yourself? And so often the answer is no. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that, is what people say. Or it's like, oh yeah, that's nice, but you don't understand, I really have rent to pay. Yeah, I get it. But see, you're not being asked to pay rent right now. Right here, in this moment, you're being asked, can you feel? Can you give to yourself? Can you align yourself with liking yourself in the present moment? That's all you're being asked. Can you do that? See, this is where the buts then begin to start. Well, I would like to, but this is how I think about this. And I like what you're saying, but a lot of buts. So where did the thoughts that you think come from that you think? Because if you listen to the internal guidance system, you would love yourself, and it would be very clear that everything comes to you. Everything comes to you. You begin to think a thought, we'll talk about this in a minute, and you're going to find in one layer of thought, the answer appears exactly where the question is asked. In another layer of thought, there is no memory to find an answer. It's simply somebody says something and the answer and the information appear to you. There's no struggle, there's no thinking at that level of thought, fifth, sixth layer of thought. That layer of thought, everything just happens. You don't even think with words. But we don't play there. Oh, you can play there, but we don't play there. We play pretty much most people play in what we're going to call the third layer of thought. And that's the layer of thought where I'm constantly leaning. The world, I have to please the world. I have to go to the external world. I have to make sure the external world agrees with me, and I have to fit in based on somebody else's thoughts. You know, take another breath. Anybody know that place? And so third layer of thought is where we're going to start. Third layer of thought. In fact, take a breath and just sit back for a moment. Because you see, if I keep talking, you're thinking with me and you're having opinions as I talk. And you're having memories. So yeah, I did that. That happened to me one time. And then you miss what the next second or two or three of what was being said. Anybody know that place? You sit in school and somebody would say something and you start thinking about it, and then you come back and you go, oh gosh, I just missed the next part of the answer because I was thinking somewhere else. So right here, take a breath, sit back. And we're going to walk through a couple of these layers of thought. Where did the thoughts come from? So in a general way, talking about, let's say, the person walking on any street in the world, one of the things about that individual is, well, they're all great people, let's consider. But what happens is, for the most part, they are unconscious of being unconscious. They just move through life. And because time is changing, moving through life has you not remembering where you just were just a little while ago when asked. But in this space where unconscious of being unconscious happens, this third layer of thought, we'll just start there, it has a lean to it. It has a need. It has a wanting to it. So if you find yourself thinking about something, well, I got to figure this out. I need to do this. All right, gee, it didn't happen right yesterday. That really wasn't good the way that worked out yesterday. Can you hear the lean? It's leaning into the future, leaning into the past. It's not right here. Oh, you're kind of here, but the lean really dictates the first awareness as you begin to play at the next level. When you start to become conscious of being conscious, we'll call it that. There's a step in between, but simultaneously conscious of being conscious. Conscious of being conscious right here is, I think like that. Oh, I'm leaning. I'm leaning. I'm worrying about, I'm thinking about, I'm fixing, I'm taking care of. I didn't do that right. Consider that leaning. Another breath. Now, because we're right here in present time, I'll go back to third dimension, third layer in a moment, but here, right here, would you do something? Would you just consider, would not understand this, just move to quiet? Just would you allow yourself to be a little quiet? You can think, thinking as in pondering, thinking as in being curious, thinking as in wondering, um, looking at tomorrow and just kind of allowing tomorrow to be tomorrow. And gee, I need to buy some groceries for this meal I'd like to do. Right now, thinking about it right now, not, oh, I have to do this. It's not a have to. It's a awareness, if you would. Would you just notice yourself in this layer of thought? Quiet, pondering works, curious works, wondering works, but I don't need anything. I don't need an answer. I don't need a solution. I don't need to fix something. Would you take a couple of breaths and just be aware of yourself? And would you be aware of yourself, conscious of yourself being conscious? Here I am. I'm right here. And a couple more breaths without needing. Now, this is where something begins to happen, and we'll talk more about this going forward and next month. There is a difference between emotions and feelings. And we can talk about it a number of ways, but I want to talk about it from the standpoint of just a point to begin to consider. It is not right, and nor is it wrong. It's a piece of information. So we're not going to try to take it apart or justify it or condemn it. We're just going to allow it to be a concept for a moment, a definition that we're going to play with. And when you have a thought, pretty much as we've all thought, with every thought we think in that unconscious of being unconscious and even into these other layers, something happens, it catches your attention, and you have an opinion. Now, where did the opinion come from? It came from a thought that I thought a long time ago. Or my grandpa, he used to not like these kind of things that is popping up in front of me. Those people, he didn't like those people, and there's one of those people. And as soon as you see those people or that thing or, blue hair, that's really outrageous, an emotion joins the thought. And often an emotion has a charge to it. It has an opinion to it. It has an electrical sensation. It amplifies. It's like, whoa, this really makes me angry. Amplifies. The emotion amplifies the thought. The emotion makes the thought more present, more engaging. It's done unconsciously. It's how I've always done it. It's how my grandpa did it. But do you remember your grandpa? Well, no, I just kind of have a vague memory. He was really cool. I was 4 years old. Oh. Another breath. Now, notice if you are at all arguing with me, and that's a good thing, but I'm not advocating arguing. If you're having an opinion, if you're talking in your head, third layer of thought. Right here, just notice. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's habit. Third layer of thought. And just would you be again in that fourth layer of thought? And right here in fourth layer of thought, would you just have a consideration? People with blue hair, which are usually really outrageous, everybody knows that. That's a truth. It's okay. They have blue hair. I'm going to allow that person to have blue hair without me drawing an emotion, creating an opinion, amplifying the emotion. And just notice. In fact, just take it to one of your thoughts. Now, just observe this whole process. What triggers you? What don't you like? What pushes your buttons when you see that kind of action, let's say? Or why are people rude? I get really upset when they're rude. Okay, but is it possible that right here you could see that rudeness and not engage with it? No, it's still not respectful. It's not appropriate in your universe, but can you see it? Can you have the awareness of whatever your trigger word is? And is it possible that you could observe it without an emotion, without the charge? You could still maybe not appreciate it, but you are not amplifying it. You're not engaging with it. It's not about right or wrong. It's simply when you engage in that third dimensional external world, my opinion of people with blue hair, I don't like them. They're really, you know what they're like. They're those kind. What you're doing is just simply sticking your finger in the light socket, getting charged, expressing away from yourself. But have you ever met a person with blue hair? Have you ever talked to any of them? Do you really know that they are that kind of person? Maybe, but are they all like that? Are you willing to take what you know, your experience, and have them all be like that? Thoughts you think are in a third dimensional state, charged with an emotion, amplified, and put into a reactionary state. Do you like mushrooms on your pizza? Oh no, that's I don't eat mushrooms. Oh. Did you answer the question no, thank you? Or did you have an opinion, a leaning? Now, take a breath and just notice yourself, because right here, are you still more or less neutral? Are you observing, pondering, or are you somewhat engaged? I just notice. And if you're engaged, allow it to be. Take a breath, and then would you choose to be disengaged? Yep, there's a blue-haired person right over there. I see him. No engagement. Third layer of thought, engaged, leaning, needing, wanting, having to, it must be. You don't understand because you know, I mean, it's got to be changed. Third layer of thought. Now, take another breath. Notice if you're thinking, oh yeah, I do that all the time, or I do that some of the time, or yeah, I think I'm going to change this, or yeah, I do that but that's not third layer thought. If you are having conversation with yourself, justifying, thinking about, figuring out, in that figuring out, third layer of thought. Now, would you just find that fourth layer of thought? Quiet, unengaged. Try on the word neutral. Find balance. That's another aspect of fourth layer of thought. And then would you just find a smile? Consider I like me. That may be too much, but just a smile. I'm okay. Happy, comfortable, quiet. Some level of a smile. And then would you sit with it for just 15 seconds without any thought and just bring your attention to the smile or the I like me as a feeling. It's not charged, it's quiet, it's happy. 15 seconds. Now just feel the feeling for another 5 seconds. Just feel the feeling. No thinking. I like me. And another 5 seconds. And now, would you just relax into that feeling? Just notice the body. Let it go. There's a weight in the body. And just kind of relax in the body. It's not a meditation. It's an awareness. And another deep breath, and then the next layer of just relax. And right here, would you notice, here I am. I am right here. Here I am. I don't have to be anywhere else. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing broken. I still don't like people with blue hair, but they're not here right now. So I'm okay right here. Would you be right here? Now, be right here for another 10, 15 seconds and just listen to my words, but don't think with them. Let them pass right through you. A little while ago, I said that there's going to be times in the near future where, because of time fracturing, topic for another day, you're going to find yourself in multiple vibrations, emotions, 2, 3, 4 different emotions at one time. Happy, uncomfortable, angry, frustrated, uh, content. It's like they don't make any sense, but there they are. That space is very much being pulled by levels of thought, magnetism, electricity, kind of glue. Your thoughts are going to begin to be, now just hear me, don't go there, fractured in a way to where they're going to jump around. Third layer of thought. The third dimension, the fourth dimensions are fracturing for really great reasons, but not here. Now, would you just be quiet and notice? Did you jump away to find out what does fractured time mean? Okay, but not now. Right here, quiet, smile, relaxed. Here I am. Can you do that? No thought. No thought, but can you, without identifying it, feel the smile? Without any thought, just allow the smile as a feeling to appear. It may be on your face, it may be in the body. I'm okay. And fourth layer of thought, quiet, no thought. Now, without really using your eyes, would you just, right where you're sitting, would you notice yourself? It's like you're looking at yourself. You're not seeing yourself with your eyes. I'm being aware of myself. Here I am, and I'm aware of myself. Now, we're mostly planting seeds. And so right here, I'm aware of myself. I'm conscious of being conscious. Now, one of the things that happens, just kind of hear my words, let them pass through you. Don't think with me. One of the things that happens in this space is as you get content, as you get quiet, as you begin to be aware, conscious of yourself. That's a big piece. Here I am. It's as if much of the baggage, all those thoughts that have been thought, all those beliefs, all those habits that have created a difference, they were there to be thought, but they were absorbed and then they were acted on. And many of them don't feel very good. Living my life by other people's thoughts, for most of you, doesn't feel very good, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to change my thought, my circumstance, my condition, my needing, wanting, having to. As you begin to be aware, conscious, fourth layer of thought, something begins to happen. For those of you playing in this program know this, but it's as if all those things that I didn't like and I did wrong and I got judged or laughed at or embarrassed, humiliated, not appreciated. It's as if we stuff those down under the water and we take a cup and we put it in the cup and turn it under the water. We don't want to ever see it again. So we spend a lot of time keeping things submerged away from us. I didn't like it. I don't want it to happen. But what happens here is, like me, I begin to align, fourth layer of thought, with the internal guidance system that I knew when I dragged the blanket around. The higher self never left. It's one with you, but it gives you lots of room to have your experience. But it hangs around until you say, I'm quiet. What else is there? Another breath, if you would. But here, those cups, when you begin to find neutral, quiet, pondering, those cups begin to turn right side up. And those emotions, and many of those, I don't want to see that again. The interesting part, they rise up to the surface and like air bubbles, they just pop and disappear. They're not dragged through the emotional body. They don't have to be analyzed. You don't have to go to a therapist. They evaporate because they were never your thoughts. And for the most part, they were not your experience. Oh, you might have had passed through that, but how you categorized it, they don't like me. They don't even remember the event, if you could find the they in the first place. It's only me who keeps them here. I know they don't like me. Would you like to be able to turn those cups in such a way that those charged thoughts and emotions neutralize? Now, why this is of consideration here is because in the future, not as a problem, but as time fractures, and all of a sudden, many of those old thoughts are releasing on their own. The ability to find this fourth layer of thought, neutral, balance, quiet, smile, a couple of deep breaths, and I'm here in present time. Everything that's not in present time, that's held in that past and future belief system, most of which is not yours either, dissipates. There is a time coming where you are going to be given the opportunity to live your life exactly as you think you would like. The challenge is we think we would like those things, but we have never conditioned ourselves to believe that we could have them in many cases, or that we could simply enjoy that life. That life is going to come about in the next number of years. But to a great extent, those that can basically find this fourth layer of thought and let go of the mom, dad, teacher, minister, grandpa, and the teacher that I used to like, but I never realized that this is really what they believed and what they said and what they taught. And I don't really believe that stuff, but it's in my space. Now, right here, with that said, would you again just take another breath? And we just entertain the concept, what if what he just said is correct? What if I find neutral? And in neutral, I can be quiet. And in quiet, I can recognize me right here. And I'm okay. I like me right now in this smile. Oh, there's things going on in my life, but right now I'm fine. Now, another breath. Can you be fine right here? Can you just like yourself right here and not think about it, feel it? So what has been happening for this hour is the energies being structured. If you can like yourself, relax, feel the smile, be quiet right here. I like me, I'm okay. Those cups are turning upside down at this moment. Things that you hold yourself hostage for are simply dissipating. It's how it works. There's no work. There's no need. There's no wanting. There's no have to. Oh, you don't understand. No, maybe not. But try it out. Can you like you right now? You see, when this begins to be just considered and then entertained and then experienced, even at the simplest right now level, the aspect of the fifth layer of thought begins to present itself. And this has concepts with it that we argue with. Ooh, it's like, no, that's too easy. That can't be true. You don't understand. This is how my life is. So we argue. But this fifth layer of thought is even quieter. It's like the best meditation you've ever had. Have you ever had that one where you sit there and you go, why don't I do this every minute? It's in that meditation that you kind of hear yourself talking, but it's not in the front of your head. It's kind of in the back of your head. It's kind of somewhere in your head. See, that talking is you merging with the higher self. It's in that space where you observe and allow. and you make a switch. Instead of going to the world to be told I'm okay, everything you desire, let's keep that word out of it, everything that you intend as you begin to hold your awareness on I'm okay, in that fifth layer of thought, you have a thought, it comes to you. I was just thinking I'd like to go to the movies Friday night. And somebody calls and says, I have 2 tickets for the movie Friday night. And you say, well, that's interesting. What a coincidence. I just thought that just a little while ago. And then it happens again and again and again. And it's in that fifth layer of thought you begin to recognize I am a creator. It is not a coincidence. And the third dimension begins to be part of the movie and not so much the reality of my well-being. So which thought feels better? The one where I like me and see beauty and believe it comes to me? Or the one where I don't have enough and I depend on somebody else to give me a pay raise, to appreciate me, to tell me they love me, I'm okay? It's how the thought is configured by you or by the unconsciousness being unconscious of itself in the habit of other people's creation. The mom, dad, teacher, ministers say, I love you, and I'm going to show you how it is in my image. This is what I know. I'm going to give you the best information I have. You stay away from people with blue hair. Now, another breath. No thought. Quiet. I like me. No thought, and just kind of feel I'm pleased with myself right here in this minute. I can be this. And there's a smile. There is no tomorrow, no yesterday. Here I am. I like me. Kind of feel it in your toes, in your earlobes, fingertips. I like me. I'm okay. And notice yourself in present time. Yeah, a couple more breaths right now, right here. And as you're liking yourself right here, the thought is, I like myself. simultaneously would you be aware of the room you're sitting in. Don't go to the room, just it surrounds you. There it is. It exists. And here I am. And the best way I've found to stay right here is, would you be aware of yourself 3 smooth breaths? And during those breaths, would you let your eyelids open but see nothing? Just the room's there. Just kind of be aware of the next breath and your eyes are out of focus. And then just be aware of you. I like me. Don't change it. I like me. Let your eyes kind of come into focus. And everything that was there a minute ago is still there. Continue to hold your attention on here I am, present time. I like me. Wiggle your toes, pat your thighs without changing anything of your awareness. It's right here where it's like, oh, I'm going to go back to where I was when I started this a little while ago. Why? What if you could stay right here in this 4th layer of thought and be aware of the world around you without having to draw the world around you into you to be okay? What if that was possible? Another deep breath, pleased with yourself or whatever you would like to be right here. Here I am. And then see if in the next little bit you can stay in this space. Let me turn this over to Roxanne in a few moments for some questions that you might have. But this space, this 4th layer of thought, this observing, for those of you who have played in at least level 1, where you can identify the edge of your aura and discern from the rose to my heart is me. Everything else is Shakespeare's theater for my entertainment. Beginning to discern, this is who I am. This is how I structure myself. This is how I find the center of my head, the higher mind. How I think from the heart, begin to remember that internal guidance system. Choose for myself. It all begins to fall together. And this is a point in time where it may be very useful, as what is in unfolding before us is going to be different than what has been experienced in your past. When you hear people like Jeff Bezos at Amazon and Eli Musk at Tesla and Jack Ma at Alibaba saying artificial intelligence will have more impact than fire and the wheel to humanity going forward. Big statements from smart people who see and build and know what's happening. So, very exciting times. But how will you choose? Another breath. Let me turn this over to Roxanne, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'd appreciate how was that for you? What are you noticing? And what else can I tell you? Roxanne, do you exist?
Yes, hello. So if you would like to ask a question, if this is your first time, I'll explain. You have to be logged into GoToWebinar. You have a control panel there. There's a tab that says questions. You type it there. It pops up on my screen, and I can ask it for you. Please let us know if you're a free member or if you're a level 1, 2, 3 person. So Jim can kind of answer your question as it relates to the tools that you already have on your tool bench. Also, just to let you know that we're recording this And tonight we give it to a helper. She chops it up, cleans it up a little bit, and it should be in the free webinar library by next week, Tuesday. We'll also send you an email with that link as soon as it's in the library. So just to let you know how all of this works logistically. Jim, this first question is from Aaron. I've heard you say often that the slower you go, the faster you arrive. Can you speak more about that?
Sure, that's a perfect question for where we just played. So one of the things that happens is in this reality that we've grown up in, we are constantly moving away from ourselves. We need external approval, external validation, external all kinds of things. And then we are able to do what we want. As you get into this space where kind of we play in this on your side of the rose, center your head, higher mind, into the heart space, begin to observe from behind your eyes, quiet, fourth layer of thought. What happens is you begin to allow yourself to observe, allow yourself to choose rather than being in reaction or engagement and shoot, ready, aim, because and then have to back out of it and maybe apologize or rearrange it, or oh gee, I wish I had thought before I had done that. It's the slower you go, the more perception you have and the opportunity for a choice that is more in your best interest becomes available. As you get quieter and quieter, where all I did was just point without explaining that fifth layer of thought, is you start to find as I get quieter, something you'll hear me say in level 2 and level 3 of the work is the answer lies where the question is asked. Now, what we do is we say, oh, I have to go find the answer. Well, no, actually, you don't at all. It's as you get quiet and you ask the question, and you have had this experience often. A lot of times it's called the light bulb goes off, but as you kind of ask the question and you ponder or allow and don't need, it may not be that instant, but it begins to start to come to you quicker and quicker towards that instant. There is a level of it which gets very exciting. It's a space I teach from. In real terms, when you ask me a question, I do not have the answer. It's not in my memory banks. It's not something I go, oh, I learned that a long time ago. Let me tell you what I read in a book. What happens is you ask a question in this particular space I'm pointing to, the answer simply is there. And to a great extent, it's there in magnitude. So a lot of times, one of the maybe shortcomings that I have is I love to give you information. So people say, well, what about X? Should I take 2 steps or 3 steps? And then I tell you the history of steps, which is not because it's so exciting. It's like, whoa, do you understand how this works? This is so neat. So you begin, it's like the encyclopedia turns out to be a visual expression of everything related to that question. So the slower you go is really about, can I get to a place where I can observe, choose, allow, and then engage? And it becomes very valuable to kind of embrace that slower you go, the faster you arrive.
Here's a comment from Maka in Brazil. Great meditation. I'm excited to see when those seeds sprout in my consciousness.
Great.
Yes, and here's a question from, I'm going to mispronounce your name, I'm sorry, Rudiger in Germany. How did Yeshua and the Ascended Masters deal with the 3D world? How could they stand all what's out there?
Well, as they really, Yeshua starts with here, as they began to come into this space, knowing that this opportunity was going to come. So I'm talking Yeshua, 2,000 years ago kind of thing, and he's much more than that. What happened is they were dealing with a very rigid world. The density, the thought, the expression, the understanding was really dense. And if you played in level 3, and numbers of conversations that I have with Yeshua, which you get to listen to, he says very clearly, I did the best I could, and I did not succeed at what I came to do. You will succeed. I mean, you heard that biblically said, but he's not kidding. He said, the energy now is such that the density that I couldn't deal with at the time, that we couldn't deal with, it was now it's there to be altered. And Yeshua and Kathumi and all the others are very, very intimately involved with all of this work in terms of the key pieces. The density to a great extent is you. Let's just take you, me, you as individuals here, is think about the person on the street who is unconscious of being unconscious, and put them in this conversation we just had, this talk. They was like, they don't even want to be here. They have no idea. Nothing is comprehensive. In a way, that's how it was at the point where Yeshua pushed it. There was numbers of things that were available to happen that simply didn't happen. And it was because of the density. That density is no longer this. It's a challenge. To take the whole world into the fifth dimension is a challenge. And with this AI level that's coming up, it is spectacular and it is threatening. And so this next level of artificial intelligence, and to a great extent you're the key to the whole thing. Can you hold a level of consciousness that, and we'll talk about this a lot more, is artificial intelligence is a consciousness. And it's going to be something where, is it in alignment with well-being and source and you as a soul, or does it wind up being fractured because of all of the words like greed and control and domination, imposition? And so you're watching the world fracture right now, and the real key is you. No kidding, it's you. It's you being able to hold the awareness, you being able to manage yourself. If you're a baby boomer, for example, and kind of that 55 and older, you hold the dream of Atlantis. And that dream is what you basically are imprinting or capable of imprinting into the ethers. It's not your job, baby boomers, to change the world. It's your job to imprint the opportunity of the dream. Those that are younger, they're restructured. We've been watching this for years. The millennials coming in being called Blu-ray kids and Indigo kids and all these things. That wasn't a joke. The younger group hold the capacity to make what's possible happen. And the new kids after 2012, they're the ones you want to watch implement the dream. So it's a time that's been thought for a long, long time, and you've postponed lifetimes to come here now. And so that's why, Roxanne and I and others are so passionate about the slower you go. How do you get conscious? How do you choose? How do you manage your energy? How do you begin to align with that internal guidance system and recognize you don't have to put your finger in the light socket of the third dimension? It's now. It's all about now. Hope that helps.
Okay, Jim, here's the next question is from Jan in level 1. All around me, people are really, quote, losing it. Angry, attacking energy. I'm able to separate my energy from it, but I wonder, where is this coming from and why it seems to be amplifying? Is it connected to the waves of light, the shifting dimensions?
Absolutely. It's everything we just talked about. The disruption, let's start with as simple as the statement I make often: you can't take your baggage with you. You can't step into this level of here I am, capable, certain, being able to command your presence, gracious, hold out your hand and the apple appear without liking yourself or being angry or being judgmental and having prejudices. And really, those blue-haired people, they're really the worst. If you hold those kind of thoughts, it's very difficult to find that level of balance and creativeness. And so you can't take your baggage. And so this journey is underway. I mean, the boat's left the dock. Where it winds up is, for the most part, is very exciting. There are some ripples in the way, but for the most part, this is going to be very successful. But is it going to be successful for each one of us as individuals? And it will be. But if you don't know what's making you angry, if you don't know where the emotions are coming from, if all of a sudden you got 3 or 4 emotions and thoughts that are disconnected, that are running through your head, and you can't manage an attention point and then a choice, that's going to be really disruptive in the next number of years. And so you're watching people who don't have really any clue, and that's not completely true. A lot of you and me's in the world are finding our baggage coming up, and it really knocks us out of our balance. But for the most part, playing with the tools, you can get knocked off and then you come back much quicker and you clean that out. But the average person on the street, unconscious of unconscious, they're being pushed around because all their baggage is coming up and to be let go of. And many times they grab a hold of it and they argue with it and they get vengeful and resentful. And it's not the best place to be navigating your world. And that's going to happen more and more going forward for a short period of years.
Jim, here's a question from Maria. I find myself falling out of this way of being when I have to take care of something quickly when work gets chaotic. It can be a while before I realize I'm out of it. How do I move quickly while still keeping this awareness?
Well, the first thing is, as soon as you are aware you're out of it, be back in it, because you can't fix the last 4 minutes. What you can do is realize, oh, I just lost my space and I have the tools to manage my space and I get it. And so I'm going to be more conscious of my rows, for example. And so when they out there begin to act up and get resentful and push my buttons, I'm going to stay on my side of the rows. I'm going to basically notice that, wow, that actually, I mean, what you mostly notice is that has nothing to do with me. To a great extent, it takes two to play a game. And they throw a rock at you and you have a big catcher's mitt that keeps saying, oh, I'm a victim, whatever the person is. When you decide you're not a victim anymore, they'll still throw rocks at you and you hold your rows up and you say, well, this is challenging, but I'm going to stay on my side of the rows. They may do it even one more time or 2 more times, but eventually they go away because you're not playing anymore. So it's, can I manage my space? And see, this is the way Mastering Alchemy is set up. It's not trying to make you perfect or masterful or create the apple in your hand on the second day of the class. It's a journey. It's not a weekend course where you get a certificate, but it starts out with you beginning to have the fundamental tools to manage yourself. And each one of the tools, as you play with them, you start to have a sense of, wow, that kind of worked. I'm feeling more clear about myself. Putting on words like certain and capable as a feeling, and then walking around in that feeling, playing with your rows, getting in the center of your head, being grounded. All of a sudden, the pieces all work as a unit, and you're not in engagement with the noise as you used to be. That begins to be part of the first steps. Then you add a couple more pieces, you begin to be a little bit more aware. So it's a journey, but it's something that seems to keep working as a person decides to play with it and try it out.
And Maria, I'd just like to add, I spent many years in the corporate environment, and like you, I would be affected by it. And I was there when I was in level 1 and level 2. And one of the things I came up with that was really helpful was to actually go to the restroom and close the stall door and sit there and ground and find my space and use my tools and set my energy again before I walked out of the restroom and continued on my day. So hopefully
And
you can
and you
become. Hmm?
and you spent fewer and fewer days in the restroom
Yeah.
over time, I bet. Yeah.
This next question is from Stacy. I've not started level 1 yet. I'm not clear on the layers of thought.
Well, you don't have to be clear. I don't mean that funny. It's just this is an evolution. And so in a way, what we did today was more than try to create some teaching and get you to be masterful at these levels. It's just, can you be in them? Do they make any sense? Do you recognize yourself when third layer of thought, need, wanting, have to, leaning? Do you recognize yourself? Do you do that? So let's just call that the third layer of thought. We could call it apple pie. It doesn't matter what we call it, but we're creating an awareness about a set of experiences. Fourth layer of thought, you know that place. You sit and read a book on a Saturday afternoon, or you go for a walk and you enjoy the flowers. You're in that fourth layer of thought. You're not leaning, engaged, pushing against. So, what if you could become conscious of it? Move from being unconscious of unconscious, meaning it just happens and you missed it all the time, to a place where you become conscious of being conscious. Oh, wow. When I'm in this space, I feel comfortable. I can manage myself. If I held it, how would I do at work? Try it out. So it's not something to memorize. In fact, all of this work, you're going to hear me say often, please don't even memorize it. Take the classes as they unfold. Don't try to memorize everything because it's unnecessary. The reality is you know all of this. You'll hear me say often, I teach you virtually nothing. I just keep pointing to you this and that, and you go, oh, I know that. It's really quite wonderful as you remember yourself.
Here's a comment from Aaron. Jim, I've absolutely been experiencing time differently recently. Sometimes, like in the morning, I can't get ready in the same amount of time, even though my routine has not changed. Other times, it is expansive and time doesn't even matter. Thank you for giving me reference points to navigate through this change.
My pleasure.
Here's a question from Valerie. When a red button is pushed, is it due to a thought that comes first and then the body feels it? Or does the body feel it, then the mind think it?
Both ways. So there is no the answer to that. It happens both ways. Sometimes there is an awareness and the emotion pops up, and then you say, person with blue hair. The next time you see person with blue hair and it's this sense of resentment pops up. So there's no the answer to that one, but there is a clear way to step out of that construct.
Jim, here's a question from Harvey. I'm unclear how other people's free will plays into what I want to create. What if other people are involved in my creation, but they have their own will and creative ability, and it's different than mine?
Well, everybody has their own will. So start from that place. So the issue is what happens is in people's will, some people recognize that by being aggressive, I can get what I want. Being dominant, controlling, I can get what I want. I think the world is such that if I just keep taking, people will just keep giving me. So that's somebody's mindset. But in your reality, one of the things that begins to happen, or what I watch, not your reality, but everybody's reality, as you start to learn to manage your space, what happens, the first thing begins to happen is a lot of the people that you hang out with begin to fall away. So at some point in kind of level 2, going into level 3, you lose a whole bunch of your, let's call them associates. People, I go to the bar, I drink with this guy because I really got nothing else to do. Well, all of a sudden you start getting happy. That's not interesting anymore, and that person falls out of your reality. So as you begin to know, manage yourself and get clear about how you would like to be happy, a lot of the noise all around you that played where you were a little while ago, that all falls away. So the world is made up of, 7 billion free thinkers. And what happens, law of attraction, intention, attention, all magnetically attracts to that point of attention. If you hold yourself in, bigotry, sexism, racism is the right thing because they're blue people or bad people, you'll attract people with blue hair all day long to you. But if you begin to just start to say, this is what I like, the universe that supports what you like is very, very available to you. But the people who aren't in that same alignment, they go play with the people that are in their alignment. So be clear, you will lose some of your associates. You may even lose your job. And then if I say, well, how is that? And you go, well, I hated the job anyway. Well, congratulations. As you really start to say, well, I like myself, I'm really like this creative nature, all of a sudden a new job pops up in your space because I couldn't have that great job that I wanted when I was vibrating in resentment and pushing against. But as you begin to get into a place of, I like me and I get that I can have things, and I'm starting to understand how this works, that I'm the creator of my reality, I'm not a victim. All of a sudden, the people who throw rocks literally begin to go away. Now, do they go away just because you have that new thought? No. But when you begin to clean out the emotions and the electricity or the magnetism that holds the belief, I'm a victim, all of a sudden you realize, wait, I'm not a victim at all. I've been playing this game, but it's not the game I choose to play. And then level two, the beginning of level two, in the first 18 sessions of level two, you get handed a whole bunch of tools that allow you to begin to understand conceptually, wait, how I've been doing it isn't how it necessarily has to be done. I can remove these emotions without, instantly. You just basically let them go because you no longer have a reason to hold on to them. That's a conceptual awareness that takes 4 or 5 sessions to basically anchor. But once you anchor it, it's like, whoa, I can do pretty much anything if I would pay attention to myself.
Jim, I actually have a couple people asking a similar question about AI and their perspective that there's also a negative side to that technology. And so the question is, can we consciously avoid the influence of the negative forces?
Well, you can try really hard to avoid it, and that's what you will attract. So let's be really clear. A hammer is a hammer is a hammer. If you pick it up and hit somebody in the head with it, it's like a terrible tool. If you use it to bang a nail to make a house, oh, it's a wonderful tool. So AI, in a way, is very much like the hammer. So it's how is it organized? Now, AI, without getting into it here, is an aspect of consciousness. And AI is going to be something, the process of how thought processes in that format. Now think of it as a massive computer that just can do things instantaneously. To a great extent, that's how the soul thinks, instantaneously with that vast resource of capacity available to it. Now, what's possible is as you begin to build this living light body, and as you begin to, this is level 3 work, as you begin to reconfigure the brain, as you begin to turn on the eye of Horus, as you become aware of and the use and application of your knowingness and your spiritual abilities, as you begin to change the neuron messaging system in the molecular structure, as you begin to align with the Christed mind, as you begin to engage with the higher self and the soul, as you build the light body, all of a sudden you are that. Now, is it that simple? It is not simple. Well, it's not easy. It is that simple. And you are different. I'll be real clear. We'll talk about this a lot in the future, but you're witnessing a new human being being created. Now, don't hear that as you're going to be a machine and you're going to have a machine in your head. That's not what I'm saying in the least. It's the nature of that capacity to computate and process and have an awareness. And that capacity is very much a multi-dimensional capacity that is being made available to the human thinking process. And in order to do that, there is a new human species. Keep that kind. I'm not creating some monster. A new human species that's in the making. It's really exciting. And there are some ripples that are going to require you and me to be consciously intentional about what the creation looks like. This is not a free lunch. This is not a, oh, I'm just going to cruise along and be on the ship and watch the scenery. You are the reason you're on this call, whether you recognize it yet or not, is because you're a player in the game. The creation of what's coming is because is you hold a puzzle piece. You may not know it, but you wouldn't be on this call if you didn't have the capacity to hold a vibration that allows this to be moved in a direction of higher consciousness. Very exciting.
Jim, here's a question from Slavika, who is a new member. I keep hearing Christ consciousness, and I've taken it for granted as that being the all. If not Christ consciousness, then what else is there?
Oh, creator. So Christ consciousness is a vibrational alignment of consciousness. And it is an aspect of creator. The Holy Spirit is an alignment of consciousness. That's an aspect of creator. The I am presence is an alignment of consciousness. That's an aspect of creator. You have a hand, you have a foot, you have a nose, all aspects of you. So this process of evolution and consciousness is really all about the creator wanting to know itself and what it creates. And so that's a much bigger story, but basically the aspect of Christ consciousness is a configuration. It would be saying it's like a rose is a plant, but poison ivy is a plant, and a vine is a plant, and the apple tree is a plant, but they're all aspects of plants. It just happens as Christ's consciousness is a vibrational alignment of beauty and well-being and very much a nature of who you are, not from a religious standpoint, but from a nature of who you are. It's this well-being. It's very much this sense of beauty, a sense of creation, the sense of wonder is very much part of the Christ consciousness. The smile is very much part of the Holy Spirit. But most people don't know very much about the Holy Spirit, an aspect of source, of creator, but very much an aspect of you.
Jim, here's another new member, Yolanda, and her question is, how can I get rid of the bad emotions through magnetic grounding? Do I ground as much as I need to?
No, too much thinking. So what happens is it's not so much a doing as it is an awareness and then a choice, an application, a doing, if you would. So grounding is really simply something that comes with the body. But when you begin to get into past and future and worry and hope and fear, you lose your space. Grounding, the tool is taught in level 1, and I think it's still free in the tools of in Mastering Alchemy, the essential tools. But grounding takes away the charge. So thoughts are electrical, emotions are magnetic. And so it's like sticking your hands under water when you're anxious or anxiety filled, and all of a sudden you take a breath and you calm down. Well, that's that electrical charge of an anxiety, let's say. And a few breaths, you get put into present time, that electrical charge just dissipates into the ground. The ground treats it as neutral. Emotions, I just can't get rid of this. I feel stuck. I'm locked into this. Emotions, as in magnetics that hold emotions together. There is an aspect of the grounding cord that just simply allows you to dissipate the emotion. I can let this go, and it grounds off the body too. So it's not a doing as much as it's a basic understanding of how you as a spiritual being in a body work, and then sit down and try it. You don't need to wait until it's your worst experience of the day and then go, okay, work. Doesn't really work that well because you haven't aligned it. You haven't become congruent with it. But if you practice grounding, you practice staying on your side of the rows, you practice being in the center of your head when it doesn't count, that's when it begins to be remembered. And then all of a sudden something happens and it passes, and an hour later you go, wow, I was really grounded. I didn't react. I didn't get knocked out of my space. Oh, this stuff works. That's really what happens over and over and over again.
Jim, we are over our time again, but let's just have this one last question and then um, we can finish up. So, this question is from another new person, Christopher, who lives in Berkeley, California. My question is, why are you just coming to my attention now? And where would I start transcribing your vocabulary into my own to assist my ascension?
Oh, I've been looking for you, Christopher, for years, but you've been very elusive. But here we are. So how do you do what you just asked? Well, masteringalchemy.com. And on the website is kind of volumes of free lectures. There's essential tools, free. There is lots of information, free. Kind of our business model is not to sell you anything. It is more to give you substance to think and feel and make a decision. Is this something that sounds, feels right for you? If that's the case, level one. Level one is, I think, 14, 15 hours of me talking to you, teaching tools. There's, I think, 5 lectures, weekend lectures that we have done that said, here, try this out. I think there's 5 or 6 additional meditations, like how do you pass yourself through the eye of the needle? Great piece of information. So by the time you take everything available in level one, I think we're charged $125 for it, you've probably got 25 hours of information. And so is that worth $125, not as a sale? Is that something that you would be interested in experiencing after you look at the website and see whether this makes any sense to you? So, it's let me give you a lot of information, you make a decision. I try not to, Roxanne, it's very clear, we aren't selling you anything. And to be even clearer, to a great extent, and this sounds funny, is we're not really teaching you anything. You get a lot of information, but great part of it, you already know most all of it. You've just forgotten. You've just gone to the third dimension. You've stopped paying attention to that internal guidance system in the heart. And so when you begin to get more stable, grounded, present, able to stay on your side of the rows, watch the world out there and then choose how you wish to engage with it, it's a very different set of experiences than rushing out, being approved of, worried about failing. I don't have enough. What if they don't like me? That's a choice, but how has it worked so far? Would you like to find certain, capable, happy, gracious, the smile, the beauty in the heart, the sense of well-being, finding a place where real quietly you do what we just did? I like me. I'm okay. And then build from there. So glad to have found you. Love to play with you. So with that said, thank you very much, everybody. I hope this was good. I'm going to go next session in March, and I'm going to expand on this thought level and how do those emotions interfere with how you create what you want, and how do you begin to neutralize them. So we'll expand on this because this is really important, this place. So with that said, have a lovely day, evening, morning, night, wherever you are in the world. Blessings.